This is Nilambara Chakravarti. After seeing the baby. Narayana Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we're carrying on with the childhood pastimes of Lord Caitanya. Narayanara Shina Yukta Shrihasta Charana E Shishu Sarvaloke Korive Tarana. This baby has all the symptoms of Lord Narayan on his palms and soles. He will be able to deliver all the three worlds. Eta Koribe Vaishnav Dharmara Prachar Iha Haite Habe Dui Kulera Nistara. This child will preach the Vaishnav cult and deliver both his maternal and paternal families. Purport. Only Narayan himself or his bona fide representative can preach the cult of Vaishnavism or devotional service. When a Vaishnava is born, he delivers both the maternal and paternal families simultaneously. Mahotsava Kara Sabha Bolaha Pramana Aji Dina Bala Koriba Nama Karana. I propose to perform the name-giving ceremony. We should observe a festival and call for the Brahmins because today is very auspicious. Purport. In the Vedic principle to observe a festival in connection with Narayan and Brahmanas, giving a child a particular name is among the purificatory processes known as Dasavida Samskar. On the day of such a ceremony, one should observe the festival by worshipping Narayan and distributing prasadam, chiefly to the Brahmanas. When Nilambar Chakravarti, Sachimata and Jagannath understood from the marks on the Lord's feet their child was, Nimai was not an ordinary child, but an incarnation of Narayan, they decided that on that very same day, which is very auspicious, they should observe a festival for his name-giving ceremony. In this connection, we can particularly see how an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ascertained by his bodily symptoms, his activities, and prediction of the Shastras. By factual evidence, a person can be accepted as an incarnation of God, not whimsically or by the votes of rascals and fools. There have been many imitation incarnations in Bengal since the appearance of Lord Caitanya, but any impartial devotee or learned man can understand that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was accepted as an incarnation of Krishna, not on the basis of popular votes, by evidence from the Shastra and bona fide scholars. It was not ordinary men who accepted Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the beginning of his identity was ascertained by learned scholars like Nilambara Chakravarti. Later, all his activities were confirmed by the 6 Goswamis, especially Shiva Jiva Goswami and Shilrupa Goswami, and many other learned scholars, with evidence from the Shastra. An incarnation of God is such from the very beginning of his life, and not that by performing meditation one can become an incarnation of God all of a sudden. Such false incarnations are meant for fools and rascals, not sane men. Sarva Lokara Karibe Ihan Dharana Poshana Vishwambara Nama Ihar Eta Karana. In the future, this child will protect and maintain all the world. For this reason he should be called Vishwambara. Purport. The Caitanya Bhagavat confirms that Caitanya Mahaprabhu by his birth has made the whole world peaceful. As in the past, Narayan protected this earth in his incarnation of Varaha. Besides of his protecting and maintaining this world in the present Kali Yuga, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Vishwambara, which refers to one who feeds the entire world. The movement inaugurated by Caitanya Mahaprabhu when he was present 500 years ago is again being propagated all over the world, and factually we are seeing its practical results. People are being saved, protected, and maintained by this Hare Krishna movement. Thousands of followers, especially Western youth, are taking part in this Hare Krishna movement, and how safe and happy they feel can be understood from the expressions of gratitude in their hundreds and thousands of letters. The name Vishwambara is also mentioned in the Atharva Veda Samhita, Vishwambara Vishvena Ma Bharasa Pahi Shwaha. And this was 1975 or something when Prabhupada is writing this. So now the number of devotees all over the world is hugely increased. Many countries weren't touched at that time. Now they're Shuni, Sachi, Mishvara, Mane, Ananda, Badila, Brahmana, Brahmani, Ani, Mahotsava, Kaila. After hearing Nilambara Chakravarti's prediction, Sachimata and Jagannath observed a name-giving festival in great joy, inviting all the Brahmins and their wives. Report. In the Vedic system, to observe all kinds of festivals, including birthday festivals, marriage festivals, name-giving festivals, and festivals marking the beginning of education by especially inviting Brahmanas. In every festival, the Brahmanas are to be fed first, and when the Brahmanas are pleased, they bless the festival by chanting Vedic mantras or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Tabe Kata Dine Prabhura Jana Chakramana Nana Chamatkara Taha Korela Darshana. After some days, the Lord began to crawl on his knees, and he caused various wonderful things to be seen. Report. The Caitanya Bhagavat describes that one day while the Lord was crawling upon his knees, the bells on his waist ringing very sweetly, a snake came out of the crowd in the yard of the Lord, who captured the snake like a curious child. Immediately the snake crawled over him. The Lord as a child then rested on the snake, and after some time the snake went away, leaving the Lord aside. Kranda Nera Shale Baila Hari Nama Nari Sabha Hari Bale Ase Gora Dama. I read this before, but the Lord caused all the ladies to chant the holy names of Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the plea of his crying, and while he chanted, the Lord would smile. In the Caitanya Bhagavat, this pastime is described as follows. The Lord, with his beautiful eyes, would cry, but he would stop immediately upon hearing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When the ladies, understanding the fun of the Lord, discovered that they would cry and then stop upon hearing the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, they all took it as a clue to chant Hare Krishna as soon as the Lord cried. Thus it became a regular function. The Lord would cry, and the ladies would begin chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, clapping their hands in this way. All the ladies of the neighboring houses would assemble in the home of Sachimata to join the Sankirtan movement 24 hours a day. As long as the ladies continued to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Lord would not cry, but would be very pleasingly smile on them. Tabe kata dine kaila pada chandra kamana shishu gane mili kaila vivida kelana. After some days, the Lord began to move his legs and walk. He mixed with other children and exhibited various sports. Ekadina Sachikai Sandeshadi Aniya Baja Bari Dia Baila Kao Na Vasiya. One day while the Lord was enjoying his playful sports with the other little children, Mother Sachi brought a dish filled with fused rice and then sweetmeats and asked the child to sit down. I read this before, so I'm going to move ahead. Although it's all nectar, but it's already recorded. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, I'm finding where I left off. Shishu Sabha Laya Pada Shira Gare Shuri Kari Dravya Kaya Mare Bala Kere. As usual for small children, he learned to play with his playmates and went to the houses of neighboring friends, stealing their eatables and eating them. Sometimes the children fought among themselves. Shishu Sabha Suchi Stane Kaila Nivedana Shuni Sachi Putre Kichu Dila Olahana. As all the children lodged complaints with Sachimata about the Lord's fighting with them and stealing from the neighbors' houses. Therefore, sometimes she used to chastise or rebuke her son. Kene Chari Kara Kene Mara Hara Shishure Kene Para Gare Yaha Kiba Nahi Gare. Sachimata said, "Why do you steal others' things? Why do you beat the other children? And why do you go inside others' houses? What do you not have in your own house?" Purport. According to Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya since childhood, maintenance and annihilation, since creation, maintenance and annihilation exist in the Supreme Absolute, whatever we find within the material world is already in the spiritual world. Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. How is he stealing and how is he fighting? It is not as a thief or an enemy, but as a friend in loving condition. He steals as a child, not because he is in want, but out of natural instinct. In this material world, small children without enmity or bad will sometimes go to the neighboring house and steal, and sometimes they fight. Krishna also, like other children, did all these things in his childhood. Without the existence of the stealing propensity and fighting propensity in the spiritual world, there cannot exist here in the material world. The difference between the material and spiritual world is that stealing in the spiritual world is done in friendship and love, whereas fighting and stealing within this material world are executed on the basis of enmity and envy. Therefore, we should understand that in the spiritual world ends. Shuni Kruda Hana Prabhu Gara Vitara Yana Gare Yata Panda Chila Lila Bangiya. Thus rebuked by his mother, the Lord would go in anger into a room and break all the pots within it. Tabe Sachi Kole Kari Karaila Santosh Lajita Haila Prabhu Jani Nija Dosha. Then Sachimata would take her son in her lap and pacify him, and the Lord would be very much ashamed, admitting his faults. There's a nice description of the faults of Caitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood in Caitanya Bhagavat, Adi Kanda, chapter 3, where it is said that as a child the Lord used to steal all kinds of eatables from the houses of neighboring friends. In some houses he would steal milk and drink it, in others he would steal and eat prepared rice. Sometimes he would break cooking pots. If there were nothing to eat, but there were small babies, the Lord would tease the babies and make them cry. Sometimes a neighbor would complain to Sachimata, "My child is very small, but your child puts water in his ears and makes him cry." That makes everybody think about him all the time. See, that's mercy. Kabu Mridu Haste Kaila Matake Tadana Matake Murchita Deki Kodaye Krandana. Once a child, Caitanya Mahaprabhu chastised his mother with his soft hand, and then his mother pretended to faint. Seeing this, the Lord began to cry. Nare Gana Kahe, Nare Kela, Deha Ani, Tabe Shusta Hai Bena, Tomaraja Nani. The neighboring ladies told him, "Dear child, please bring a coconut from somewhere, then your mother will be cured." Bahire Yana Ani Lena Due Nara Kela Dekiya Apurva Haila Dismita Sakala. Then he went outside the house and immediately brought 2 coconuts. All the ladies were astonished to see such wonderful activities. Kabu Shishu Sange Snana Korila Gangate Kanya Gana Aila Tahan Devata Pujite. Sometimes the Lord would go to other children to bath in the Ganges, and the neighboring girls would also come there to worship various demigods. Purport. According to the Vedic system, when small girls are like 12 years old or 10 years old, would go to the bank of the Ganges to take their bath, they would especially worship Lord Shiva with prayers to get good husbands in the future. They especially wanted to get a husband like Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is very peaceful, at the same time most powerful. Formerly, therefore, small girls in Hindu families would worship Lord Shiva, especially in the month of Vaishakha, April, May. To take a bath in the Ganges is a great pleasure for everyone, not only for adults but for children also. Ganga Snana Kari Puja Kari Te La Gila Kanya Gana Madhye Prabhu Asiya Basila. When the girls engaged in worshipping the different demigods after bathing in the Ganges, the young Lord would come there and sit down among them. Kanyare Kahe Ama Puja Ami Dibba Vara Ganga Durga Dasi Mora Mahesha Kinkara. Addressing the girls, the Lord would say, "Worship me, and I will give you good husbands or good benedictions. The Ganges and Goddess Durga are my maidservants. What to speak of other demigods? Even Lord Shiva is my servant." Report, there is a misconception about the Hindu religion among people who profess other religions, such as Christians and Muslims, who say that the Hindu religion there are many gods. Actually, it is not a fact. God is one, but there are many other powerful living entities who are in charge of different departments of administration. They are called demigods, almost God. Although the demigods are servants that carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, disclosed this fact in his childhood. Out of the ignorance, sometimes people worship the demigods to receive some particular boon. But actually, one who becomes a devotee and worshiper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to go to the demigods for any benediction, because he obtains everything by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Bhagavad Gita 7:20 and 28 therefore condemns such demigod worship. Kamaistaista ritagana prapajyante devata tam tam niyamam astaya prakicha niyata swayam. Only persons whose intelligence is lost and who are mad with lusty desires worship the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Yesham twantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dwandamoha nirmukta bhajante mam dridavrataha. But persons who are freed from all sinful activities and the duality of delusion engage themselves in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with determination. Only the less intelligent worship the demigods for their various purposes. The most intelligent worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Sometimes we, the members of the Krishna conscious movement, are accused of not approving of the worship of demigods. But how can we approve of this when it is condemned by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna? How can we allow people to become foolish and Rita Jnana, bereft of intelligence? Our propaganda is simply meant to enable intelligent people to understand the distinction between matter and spirit and understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the whole spiritual identity. This is our mission. How could we mislead people into worshiping so-called gods in material bodies within this material world? Our position of not allowing worship of the many hundreds of demigods was confirmed by Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu even in his childhood. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, Anya Devashaya Nai Tomare Kahinu Bhai E Bhakta Parama Karana. To become a staunch, pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviation, one should not divert his attention to the worship of demigods. Such control is a symptom of pure devotional service. Apani Chandana Pari Parena Pulamala Naiveja Kadiya Kana Sandesha Chala Kala. Without the permission of the girls, the Lord would take the sandalwood pulp and smear it on his own body, put the flower guns on his own neck, and snatch and eat all the offerings of sweetmeats, rice, and banana. Purport. According to the system of worship, when something is offered to deities outside of one's home, it is generally not cooked food, but raw rice, bananas, and sweetmeats. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord would snatch the offerings from the girls and eat them, admonishing the girls not to worship the demigods, but to worship him. This worship of Caitanya Mahaprabhu is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishna Sangopangasat Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasa. One should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears in this age of Kali with his associates as the Pancha Tattva, the Lord himself, and his associates Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Shri Gadadhar Prabhu, and Srivas Thakur. In this age, an intelligent person worships the Pancha Tattva by the method of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and, if possible, distributing prasadam. Our Krishna conscious movement is introducing this bona fide method of worship in the Western world. Its members are going from village to village and town to town with deities as Lord Chaitanya, teaching people how to worship the Lord by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, offering prasadam and distributing prasadam to the people in general. Krode Kanya Gana Kahe Shuna He Nimani Grama Sambande How To Me Ama Sabara Bhai. All the girls became very angry at the Lord for this behavior. Dear Nimai, they told him, you are just like our brother in our village. Relationship. Ama Sabakara Pakshe Iha Karite Na Yuyaya Na Laha Devata Saja Na Kara Anyaya. Therefore, it does not behoove you to act like this. Don't take our paraphernalia for worship of the demigods. Don't create a disturbance in this way. Prabhu kahe Toma Sabake Dila E Vara Toma Sabara Bharta Abe Parama Sundara. The Lord replied, my dear sisters, I give you the benediction that your husbands will be very handsome. Pandita Vidagda Yuva Dana Dam Dan Yavan Sata Sata Putra Habe Chiranyu Matiman. They will be learned, clever, and young, and possess abundant wealth and rights. Not only that, but you will each have 7 sons, and you will all be long lives, who will all live long lives and be very intelligent. Purport. Generally, it is the ambition of young girls to have a very handsome husband who is learned, clever, young, and rich. According to the Vedic culture, one is rich if he possesses a large stock of food grains and a very large number of animals. Danyena Dhanavan Gavaya Dhanavan. One is rich if he possesses food grains, cows, and bulls. The girl must also desires to have many children, especially sons, putra, who are very intelligent and long-lived. Now, because society has deteriorated, there's propaganda to have 1 or 2 children and kill the rest by contraceptive methods. But the natural ambition of a girl is to possess not only more than one, but should at least half a dozen. In exchange for the paraphernalia of worship he usurped for himself, Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to bless the girls to fulfill their ambitions and desires. One can easily become happy and obtain the material benefits of a good husband, wealth, food grains, and a number of nice children by worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas at an early age, it is not necessary for his devotees to follow him by also taking sannyas. One can stay a householder, but one must be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then one will be happy with all the material opulence of a good home, good children, good mate, good wealth, and everything he desires. Therefore, the Shastras advise, Yagnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasa. Every householder, therefore, who is actually intelligent should introduce the Sankirtan movement, home to home, and live peacefully in this life and go back to Godhead in the next. Vada Shuni Kanya Gunera Antare Santosha Bahire Vartsana Kare Kare Mitya Rosa. Hearing the benediction from Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, all the girls were inwardly very happy, but externally it is natural for girls. They rebuke the Lord under the pretense of anger. This double dealing is natural for girls. When they are satisfied within, they externally show dissatisfaction. Such feminine dealings are very palatable for boys who try to make friendship with them. Kona, Kanya, Palaila, Naiveja, Laiya, Tare Daki, Kahe Prabhu, Sakroda, Haiya. When some of the girls fled, the Lord called them in anger and advised them as follows. Yadi Naiveja na Deha Kaiya Kripani Buddha Bharta Habe Ara Chari Chari Satini. If you are miserly and do not give me the offerings, every one of you will have an old husband with at least 4 co-wives. Purport. In India those days, even till 50 years ago, polygamy was freely allowed. Any man, especially of the higher caste, the Brahmins and Vaishyas, particularly the Kshatriyas, could marry more than one wife. In the Mahabharata, or the old history of India, we see that Kshatriya kings especially used to marry many wives. According to Vedic civilization, there was no restriction against that, and even a man more than 50 years old could marry. But to be married for a man who had many wives was not a very pleasing situation, because the husband's love would be divided among his many wives. To punish the girls unwilling to offer him the Naivedya, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu apparently wanted to curse them to be married to a man who had at least 4 wives. The social structure allowing men to marry more than one wife can be supported by this way. Generally, in every society, the female population is greater in number than the male. Therefore, if it is a principle in the society that all girls should be married, unless polygamy is allowed, it will not be possible. If all the girls are to be not married, there is a good chance of adultery, and a society in which adultery is allowed cannot be very peaceful or pure. In our Krishna conscious society, we have restricted illicit sex. The practical difficulty is to find a husband for each and every girl. We are therefore in favor of polygamy, provided, of course, that the husband is able to maintain more than one wife. Of course, it's illegal, so Prabhupada said we shouldn't do it. In principle, it's correct. Iha shuni tasabara mane haila vaya kona kichu jane kiba deva vishta haya. Hearing this supposed curse by Lord Caitanya, the girls, considering that he might know something uncommon or be empowered by demigods, were afraid that this curse might be effective. Aniya Naivedya Tara Samukhe Darila Kaya Naivedya Tare Ishta Varadila. The girls then brought the offerings before the Lord, who ate them all and blessed the girls to their satisfaction. Emata chapalya sabha lokere de kaya dukkha karo nitane nahe sabe sukha paya. When this cunning behavior of the Lord with the girls became known to the people in general, it did not create misunderstandings among them. Rather, they enjoyed happiness in their dealings. Eka dina balbacharya kanya lakshminam devata pujite aila kari ganga snana. One day a girl of the name Lakshmi, the daughter of Vallabhacharya, came to the bank of the Ganges to take a bath in the river and worship the demigods. Purport. According to Gonadish Dipika, Lakshmi was formerly Janaki, the wife of Lord Ramchandra, and Rukmini, the wife of Lord Krishna in Dwarka. The same goddess of fortune descended in Lakshmi to become the wife of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tanre Deki Prabhuda Haila Sa Vilasa Mana Lakshmi Chite Prita Paila Prabhura Darshana. Seeing Lakshmi Devi, the Lord became attached to her, and Lakshmi, upon seeing the Lord, felt great satisfaction within his mind. So, moving fast through his childhood. This is much older. Sahajika Priti Dunhara Karila Udaya Balya Baba Sheda Chana Tabu Haila Nischaya. Their natural love for each other awakened, and although it was covered by childhood emotions, it became apparent that they were mutually attracted. Purport. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Devi are eternal husband and wife. Therefore, it's quite natural for their dormant love to awaken when they saw each other. Their natural feelings were immediately awakened by their meeting. Dunha Deki Dunhara Chitte Haila Ulasa Deva Puja Chale Kaila Duneya Parakasha. They both enjoyed natural pleasure in seeing each other, and under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings. Prabhu Kahe Ama Puja Ami Maheshwara Amara Pujila Pabe Abhipshita Vara. The Lord told Lakshmi, just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get great benedictions you desire. Purport. This is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarma Dharmam Parichaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Aham Swam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayasyami Ma Sucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I should deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This is, at least I don't know now, but this verse was greatly misunderstood back in the early days. Maybe still, because he doesn't mean, don't do anything, but you don't need to worship the demigods for all these material benedictions, all the rituals and everything that take up all your time. Just worship Krishna, follow Bhagavad Gita, and then, like in the West, we read that, we never heard of demigods, we don't have much varieties of religion, but, just surrender to Krishna, learn what Krishna wants and do it. I shall deliver you from all sin-free action. People do not understand this. They are accustomed to flattering or worshipping many demigods. This is called illusion. Human beings, or even cats and dogs, but when sometimes they worship the dog, we see that in America. And when requested to worship the Supreme Lord, they refuse. This is called illusion. Factually, if one worships the Supreme Lord, there's no need to worship anyone else. For example, in a village of a limited area, one may use different wells for different purposes. But when one goes to the river, where there is water constantly flowing in waves, the water can serve all the purposes. When there is a river, one can take drinking water, wash his clothes, bathe, and so on, for that water will serve all purposes. Similarly, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, all his goals will be achieved. Kamais tais rittagana prapadyante anya devata. Only men who have lost their intelligence worship the various demigods to fulfill their desire. Gita 7:20. Lakshmi Tanra Ange Dila Pushpa Chandana Malikara Mala Diya Kodila Vandana. On hearing the order of the Supreme Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Lakshmi immediately worshipped him, offering sandalwood pulp and flowers for his body, garlanding him with malika flowers, and offering prayers. Prabhu Tanra Puja Pana Asite Lagila Shloka Padi Tanra Baba Angikara Kaila. Being worshipped by Lakshmi, the Lord began to smile. He recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam and thus accepted the emotion she expressed. This verse is, I'm going to have to stop there. Thank you all very much.